Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, let's take a look at our top stories tonight. President AKUFO-ADDO ends his two-term tenure as chairman of the Authority of Heads of State of ECOWAS. Meanwhile, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambas, special envoy to Guinea, withdraws as mediator. 1,000 members of the Progressive People's Party have defected to the NDC in their bid to help the biggest opposition party win the 2024 general election. And on the international front, Russia says it is now in control of eastern city of LYSYCHANSK. Details are coming up shortly. Stay with us. Let's now settle for the details as President AKUFO-ADDO has ended his tenure as ECOWAS chair after he assumed the position in September 2020. His mandate was renewed in June 2021 for another term by his colleague heads of state. He hands over power to President of Guinea-Bissau, UMARO EMBALO.
Authority of the new chairperson of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS. That is the President of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, His Excellency UMARO EMBALO. So we'll invite President Sissoko to come over for the formalities.
Señor Presidente,
I have to give you this.
Yeah.
Come here. So the first thing is
that?
I have to give you first of all the gavel.
Okay.
Authority. And that's the teaching.
Guinea-Bissau is grateful to you for the trust on us. Guinea-Bissau reaffirms its commitment to the implementation of the ECOWAS agenda and pledges to do everything to make member states comfortable.
Now, heads of the ECOWAS authority are warning that terrorists are shifting their focus from the Sahel region to coastal states. President AKUFO-ADDO at the opening of the 61st ordinary session of ECOWAS called on member states to be on guard.
West African leaders face an uphill task of dealing with rising insecurity across the region. Sunday's meeting in Accra saw the leaders deliberate on the way forward to see a return to constitutional rule in Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. At the opening session of the 61st Ordinary Meeting of the Heads of State, President of the ECOWAS Commission, Jean-Claude Cassibot, expressed concerns about the growing insecurity in the region. President AKUFO-ADDO warned of a spillover effect to coastal states.
A region continues to be the target of indiscriminate and barbaric terrorist attacks, resulting in the loss of many innocent victims and the deterioration of the humanitarian situation in the targeted countries. These terrorist attacks are now not only focusing on the Sahel, but also expanding to the coastal states in our region. Our determination in this area must be stronger than ever. Equally unshaken must be our resolve to maintain the stability of our region and of its member states.
Meanwhile, ECOWAS Special Envoy to Guinea, Dr. Mohamed Ibn Chambers, has withdrawn as mediator to the West African state. Dr. Ibn Chambers said his decision to step down is to pave the way for a successful dialogue to take place in order for Guinea to return to constitutional democratic rule.
Once a military has overthrown a civilian government, there is obviously a political crisis in the country. This reason is what the Guinean authorities have used to refuse to accept an ECOWAS envoy in the country, in the person of myself. At this point, I believe that Mohamed Ibn Chambers should not be the stumbling block to dialogue between ECOWAS and Guinea. So in order to facilitate the forward movement on this issue, I've decided to withdraw myself as envoy of ECOWAS to Guinea to allow the authority to come up with other names. I think clearly under that circumstance, if the Guinean authorities continue to refuse to accept an ECOWAS envoy, then we would know that we have a real difficulty in ensuring that the sub-region can play its usual role pursuant to protocols which Guinea itself has been a signatory to return countries which have experienced military coup d'etat to democratic constitutional governance as speedily as possible.
Let's now cross over and listen to the immediate past president of the ECOWAS Commission, Jean-Claude Cassibrou, in his farewell address.
To lift all the economic and financial sanctions that were taken on January 9, 2022. That means essentially the closure of the border and the freeze of the financial asset. So those sanctions are lifted. They also decided that the sanction taken in terms of recalling the ambassadors of ECOWAS member country, this sanction is also removed. So the ambassadors will return, be able to return to Bamako, to Mali.
Right, so that was Mr. Cassibrou also announcing the measures that have been taken by ECOWAS. Let's speak to Richard Kumado on the back of this. He is a fraud prevention expert and security consultant. Mr. Kumado, grateful for your time this evening. This is not the first time ECOWAS leaders are meeting over the recent wave of coups in the sub-region. Do they have what it takes this time to help curb the situation?
I think our president handing over has enumerated some challenges he met and some decisions he took together with his colleagues. Then, unfortunately or fortunately, the current leader suffered a coup d'etat attempt. I think the lessons he learned from there, together with what our president, who is his predecessor, has enumerated, should be a guiding principle for him. Other than that, they have a long way to go in dealing with these issues of insecurity and coup d'etat that seems to be engulfing the West Africa coast.
President AKUFO-ADDO just said that the terrorists have now shifted their focus from the Sahel region to the coastal states. Should we be worried as a country, Ghana?
Definitely, we should be worried. But what we can also do is that once we are aware of their modus of operandi, we can put in a proactive measures and to mitigate some of their effects, and to also to ensure that our people are carried along in the issue of terrorism and ways to prevent it. Other than that, it has become a major issues for West Africa countries to deal with. Dr.
Ibn Chambers has backed out as the mediator in Guinea. What does this mean?
It's a big blow, because he's a diplomat, and it's a big blow. That tells you the leadership crisis within the ECOWAS regions or the ECOWAS sessions. And once he of that caliber, with that stature, is bowing down, they will need to work a little bit hard, fill in the loopholes, and make sure they have the right people at the right places, speaking to the people they might want to change. I think the issue in Guinea-Bissau and the issue in Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, has thrown out new challenges when it comes to political leadership and diplomacy. And I want to believe that they have watched what is happening. And it is time for the West Africa leaders to be a bit more circumspect when it comes to dealing with themselves and how frank they can be. Other than that, the guys in Guinea have nothing to do with Ibn Chambers because they think he has been compromised, and that is why they don't want to talk to him.
Right. Critics of ECOWAS say they are more of talk with no action. What do you have to say on that?
I want to believe that. I want to go with that, because many of the things they have said did not yield results. And to the extent that they have not achieved security compliance within the West Africa zone, for which these are big boys who have been in politics for years, then look as if it's a group of old men who want to do widow dressing. And many of their decisions has been a little bit wayward. And it is good they are coming back home to deal with the realities that has faced us as Africans.
Right. Today marks the last day President AKUFO-ADDO served as chairman of ECOWAS. Would you say he has been a success?
He had challenges. He had challenges. During his term, there has been a lot of coup d'etats for which his presidency has been challenged. And currently, you remember our national security minister keeps talking about terrorists in Ghana. They want to attack us. And he happy to be the president. I think he did his best, but the challenges were enormous. And he did not perform to the extent of addressing them. And to that extent, we think he has underperformed in that regard.
Right. We have a new commissioner now. We also have a new chairman now, one of whom sustained or was able to survive a coup d'etat attempt. What do their new leadership bring on board to ECOWAS?
I think they need to be more transparent with themselves. They need to be more frank to deal with the issues of security, politics, democracy, and national cohesion. These are the areas they need to look at. Economic stability in their countries is key. Other than that, these other boys who want to take on the state using all manner of means for which they want to adapt the levels of coup d'etat threats we are seeing, they are still around and they are very active. They will want to engage them publicly. And for him, suffering that, I want to believe that he has learned some vital lessons and we want to do something different from his predecessor.
Would you say they should change their approach or they should follow their predecessors, President AKUFO-ADDO and Jean-Claude Cassibrou?
I think that the terrain has changed a little bit. There's hot air blowing all over the place. They will need to be a bit more proactive. They will need to be politically inclined. And they would need to take geopolitics and diplomacy seriously. If they are able to do this thing I'm talking about, they will do well. Other than that, the problems multiply, they get overwhelmed, and they will be shown the exit door. And because our terrain these days in West Africa zone in particular, considering the fact that we have suffered so many coup d'etats as compared to the Central Africa and the Eastern Africa, is affecting our economic strength. And once things are not getting well within, then people begin to agitate and it can create insecurity problems for the leaders.
Mr. Richard Kumado, thank you very much for speaking to us tonight. Now, some executives and supporters of the Progressive People's Party in the Upper West region have defected to the National Democratic Congress in a bid to help the party win power from the New Patriotic Party in 2024. The declaration was made in a brief ceremony in Wa.
From misgovernment. And it is because of this that I want to congratulate you that you have taken a very bold step urge you to preach out. Go out and preach to all the other members of PPP to come along so that together we can wrestle power and save this country. I also use this opportunity to appeal to the other minor and compromise parties to come back home. It is true Nkrumah's party was CPP, but Nkrumah's party has never been the CPP that has not been able to command even 2% of the national vote. So if you have a bigger party like NDC, then you need to come along. Let's sit and hold discussions. By all means, we will find a meeting of minds that will once again put the progressive forces of Ghana together. And once we are able to unite, no other political force can defeat us as a progressive, united party. So, on behalf...
With politics by this time to the Ashanti region, where some angry youth of Asokore Mampong in the region have accused the ruling New Patriotic Party government of neglecting the Ashanti region, whose vote contributed massively to their victory in the 2020 and 2016 general elections. The youth group also accused all the 47 members of parliament in the region of not serving the interest of the electorates whom they represent in parliament. Our regional correspondent Abdul Basit Suleiman has more.
Addressing a press conference at Kotoko Cinema at Abuabo in the Asokore Mampong municipality, the convener of the Ashanti Youth Confederacy, Osaya Koto, lambasted MPs in the region for not showing interest in lobbying for development for the region. The group threatened to sponsor 47 new aspiring MPs to contest all candidates of the party in the 2024 elections.
Sure. Ashanti region can boast of 47 members of parliament across the political divide, both NPP and NDC. What have you seen? We were expecting that the massive support that we give to them will commensurate with the development that we were getting, but we are not seeing it. We've seen total neglect. Promises have not been fulfilled. Projects have been abandoned. Our roads are bad. And mind you, when we talk of Ashanti region, we are not only referring to Kumasi. Ashanti region consists of various villages across the length and breadth of the region.
According to the group, since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1992, successive MPP governments have failed the region despite massive support received from residents.
Since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1992, governments have come, governments have gone. Ashanti region has supported various governments through the kind of personalities that we give to governments and the kind of votes that we give to them. But we've not seen the developments that we need to get as a region.
Away from politics, some parents and teachers are worried about the unapproved fees being charged by the authorities of the police barracks basic school in Tamale. The parents complain that despite paying huge amounts for the awards education, they still study in very bad conditions. They expressed their displeasure at a press conference in Tamale.
Overcrowding at the police barracks kindergarten, primary and junior high school in Tamale. For instance, a class which was supposed to accommodate about 35 to 40 children has almost 150 children. This makes teaching and learning very difficult. Yet, their parents say they continue to pay huge sums of money for their awards education here, yet they receive no value. Parents pay between 270 and 570 Ghana cedis depending on the level of their awards. The high fees has pushed this parent to hold a press conference to demand better.
The Metro Director of Education, Mr. Amatus D. Tugu, made some transfers of teachers and head teachers in the Tamale metropolis based on complaints and reports from some parents and teachers in some schools in his jurisdiction. Schools, we are parents and have interest in are police barrack schools. Both parents and teachers complain of unapproved collection of entrance fees, overpopulation, etc. by both head teachers of the primary and junior high school.
They say they will continue to press home their demands for better education of their wards and charge the school to stop what they term illegal charges from school authorities.
We have gathered information that his refusal to hand over the school to the new head teacher as a result of both Alhaji Mohammed Harun Cambodia, former Regional Director of Education, and the Regional Director of Education's request to the Metro Director to reverse the transfer, which he refused.
They also demand the dismissal of the Metro Director of Education, whom they say is the mastermind behind the illegal charges.
He sent PTA chairman and the SMC chairman to Nyab Bolana to write to the Director General to remove the Metro Director from Metro Education Office for refusing his directives, which written.
Still on education, students in Esiao in the Nsawam-Aduadjiri municipality have over 3 years studied in a church and a defunct cemetery, while others use improvised wooden structures, among others as classrooms. According to students, this is retarding studies and are calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, come to their aid. My colleague Shadrach Odame-Ejare has more in the following report.
Schools in areas like Esiao in the Nsawam-Aduadjiri municipality of the Eastern region is a true replica of marginalization seen in rural areas. Esiao is about a 15-minute drive from the Nsawam mobile station.
Education, they say, is the key to success. At this point, I don't know whether to describe the current state of the Esiao MA Basic School here in the Nsawam-Aduadjiri municipality as a success. This is class 5 and 6. Students have been merged because there is no classroom block to occupy them. Class 5 and 6 are all in this very hut.
These sheds do not only host students, it's also shelter to some domestic animals. For the students, studying here is just synonymous to living in fear and despair.
Macho teachers from the Wacharadi but baby I won any. Yawahanuma, Kaka and Suto, Yabwane team, or welcome to me ba na a better fem. Na yena, Yaves Catefian, Yoko baby atina, say Bibia to Transana, Yena Yababetina Asia, Emma Yobo who say every best school.
Just as the conversation went on, the rains threatened to come down. The weather suddenly got cold. Students would have to be moved to safety. But what are authorities like the Ghana Education Service, the Municipal Chief Executive Yabuabing, and the Member of Parliament Frank Anodompre doing about the plight of these students?
I've informed the MC. He also said he will do something about it. I've informed the MP. He has also said he will do something about it. So I'm just waiting for them. When the day will come that day, because I've taken pictures sent to MC, to MP, and all those people involved. I've done that, so looking forward to maybe to help us.
Back to the school's premises, you may be looking at several stones peering through the ground. These are no mere stones, they are remnants of a graveyard. Yes, where these students are studying is a defunct cemetery. Let me remind you, these students are competing with other students from the cities. From Esiao in the Nsawam-Aduadjiri municipality of the Eastern region, Shadrach Odame-Ejare for Metro News.
A very horrifying situation that. Now Isaac Boabin is the MC for Nsawam-Aduadjiri, and he joins me on phone for more on this. Mr. Isaac, welcome to the show. Has it come to your notice that some students in your area use cemeteries as a makeshift classroom.
Yeah, talking about cemetery, I'm afraid. But I knew that CL is a new school which we have just opened. So we are looking forward for from Get Fund to get us a 6-unit classroom block and then the GSS 3-unit GSS block. So we have made an intervention towards that. We just opened that school, I think, close last year, from September onwards last year. So it's a new school, and they were commuting from CL to Dipadobro for kindergarten and primary school.
Right. I need a bit of clarity here. Did you say that it hasn't come to your notice that the students use a cemetery as a classroom?
Yes, it hasn't come to my notice because I know we have created a shed for them which they are using as a classroom block now. And we are now making an intervention towards to get a new classroom block for them.
But the school management chairman in an earlier interview said that you have been informed about this situation.
That is why I'm saying that all the school management and authorities, they knew about the situation of a CL school. It's a new school. You see, they were commuting from a cottage, that is how I would describe it, to a certain school, nearby school, which we have decided, because of the proximity, we have decided to open a school for them. But as we have opened it, we can't get a classroom block for them. We are now making an intervention to get a new classroom block for them.
Right. If information we are privy to indicates that the school started 3 years ago. Meanwhile, you are saying that it started last year, September.
The 3 years ago was what do you call it? A kindergarten. They started as a crèche. But open it as a rare school. I think it's last year we did that.
You have indicated that you are not aware that students are studying in cemeteries, but you are aware of the situation. What situation are you aware of?
The situation is they are schooling under a shed. That is what I'm talking about. That's what
you don't know where the shed is located, whether it is at a cemetery or not.
Or how can a human being study at the cemetery?
So are you disputing that the students do not study at a cemetery?
They don't study at the cemetery, but they study under a shed, which the management of Education Directorate knew about it, and myself, we knew about it, because it's a new school, which we are making an intervention.
I believe you heard the report that was played. Our reporter went there and has evidence that indeed they are studying at a cemetery, and you are denying that.
I knew that they were in classroom, the church room, and then a shed. Under a shed, how come they will study under a cemetery? This is abhorrent. How can a student will go and study or create a shed under a cemetery for them to study? How can it be possible?
Really?
You are this thing. How can it be possible that a student will study under a cemetery? Even
it has been proven that it is indeed possible. At least with the visuals we have, it is showing that indeed they are studying at a cemetery.
Oh, as for that, I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it.
You're not aware that they're studying at a cemetery. You are also not aware that the school authorities actually sent you pictures of the place that is a cemetery that has some human remains and all that, all over the place. And you're saying that
when we opened the school for the people of SCL, the school authorities and the Education Directorate are all there. And they study. I'm not disputing that they don't study under a shed. But I'm disputing about the cemetery you are talking about.
So did any of the school administrators send you photos of a cemetery that showed them studying there?
I have not received any information of that.
So you have not had any photographs sent to you?
I have had a photograph of a shed, but which I'm aware because of we opened that school, because of the proximity from a CL to a DIPA.
Okay.
That is why we decided to create a new school for them.
Right. And how ready is this new school going to be?
Sooner rather than later.
How soon is sooner?
Rather than later.
Yes, and I want you to clarify for me what you mean by rather than later, because you said that it started in September 2021.
Yes, Education Directorate has written a letter to us, and we have put in a cover letter and forwarded to get fund to bring us a new classroom block, even in kindergarten as well. And now too, I'm making I'm having a talks with Blue Skies Company Limited, and they are ready to get us a new modern kindergarten block for the people of SCL.
So that means that physical arrangements have not even been made yet, just verbal agreements between
we are doing
Get
the
Fund.
documentation. Not the verbal, it's the documentation processes. We are on it now.
Okay, I'll push you further again to if you can be able to tell us when this project is going to be ready for those students to study in the classroom.
I'll do that, sir.
Hello, Honorable, are you on the line?
Yes, Honorable is on the line.
Yes. Can you kindly let us know when this project is going to be ready? Because as you've already mentioned, you have signed documents and all that. So that means you're going to be given a time frame that from now till now, we're going to get the students out of the situation, which you say you don't know is a cemetery.
You see, it's a classroom block we are talking about. So it will take a time frame, like let's say 1 year. 1 year, that's how I can put it. 1 year, the people of SCL will get a befitting classroom.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for speaking to us this evening. You're still watching Newsnight here on Metro Television. Go for a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Newsnight. Now, the police service has just released a statement which says 6 arrested over land and chieftaincy dispute that led to the death of 1 person in the Ashanti region. And it says the police have arrested 6 persons in the Ashanti region following a land and chieftaincy dispute that led to the death of 1 person at Adum Afrancho near Achuma Kwangoma. Now it says the incident occurred this morning, Sunday, July 3, 2022, at about 7 a.m. when 2 factions met on a family land where struggle ensued. Now, during the altercation, the deceased, known as Kwame Yabua, aged 23, was allegedly stabbed to death by Kwejo Brefo, who is among the suspects arrested. 2 persons, including suspect Kwejo Brefo, sustained injuries and are receiving treatment at the hospital under police guard. It continued by saying that the police have beefed up security in the area and the police is in full control of the situation. We do well to bring you more on that report in our subsequent bulletins. In the meantime, victims of a fire disaster that occurred at EMBALO district in the Western region have received financial support from some Muslims from Kambuni in the EMBALO district who are living in Europe. The sad incident occurred on 20th April 2022 when a mother, together with her 3 children, got trapped in a blazing fire incident at home. Agnes Bleche still has physical and emotional scars 3 months after a fire incident in her home. Her family is yet to recover their loss.
18 years in me one niema de enya sana anka ura me da mu pa won't me ntinase stuffing chair set wo ho ma hu niema de bebre ne sika be de me je se anka afi we me hye me dan ase amomo start ase mpo na na nsuo 20 entumi anya ni nyina be 50 million me de ko to wa hye.
Thankfully, some kind-hearted citizens living in Europe have come to her aid. They donated 5,000 Ghana cedis as their widow's mite to Agnes and her family. Former assemblyman of the area, Shaibu Isaka presented the amount of money on behalf of the group.
And the more association now,
Agnes now has a reason to smile as she and her children have some money to cater for their needs, at least for a few weeks. She is, however, calling on others to come to the aid of victims of the April 20 fire incident. According to Ochimang, it is inappropriate for the Mankron community to have about 12 cemeteries in the community. Speaking to the media at Mankron, the Akwansrahene of Achimebuakwa Bafo, Esiedu Bequin, expressed that the attitude of having such numbers of cemeteries in the community is not appropriate and that henceforth no family should own the cemeteries at that side of the community cemetery. According to the chiefs, the trend is in the community converting arable land to cemeteries is worrying. Already, the community has 12 cemeteries, and he says other families are contemplating owning their private cemeteries, a practice he cautioned against. Bafo Esiedu Bequin is one of the chiefs of the community.
Adanya abusuya kuro bi a wa bi omu fi dodo abetra bi obi a wona musie na musie no kura na omo no eyefie omusie fun no ofie to ahene de to yanim ama yetu aproko ya eyampa ti ye frɛ oman no ene ohene no koche bi ahemfie apedwa hen ho ama na apedwa ehye won because omo sha apedwa ase hye won so omo nko ti ama mi bisa ohene sa na gwo wuni oman ya musie so omo oman ya musie enti na apedwa hye won se efi na ekɔ. He further
cautioned all those using illegal means to acquiring lands in the community to desist from the practice.
Kwanza family num mankata num won ene ama register chimansa say 3,000 man square ni nyina ene emra no 2020 emra na parliament ye no atwam.
Meanwhile, another chief of Chebi Apampem, Anakwabnaba, urged the Lands Commission officials in Koforidua to go beyond land registration to investigate who the rightful owner of a particular plot of land before issuing certificates.
From 2013 up to now, I started to say, yeah, but the rules are Chema Sasi, Yanton, Yedelizi, into Biamra Parison. Sa way, you know, waging so. I feed the one registers as no more. Obasho no be the documents for Adojiri, obi the BFC Aqua, obi the BC Osiewo division, not Modi Aqua, our Hino Hokra in the Hobby.
Houses were submerged in water following hours of heavy downpour a few days ago. Residents say hundreds of properties acquired over several years ago have been destroyed.
The rains lasted many hours, forcing residents to either relocate or seek shelter with family and friends. The Assembly and NADMO officials blamed buildings on waterways for the floods. Municipal Chief Executive of Ahanta West, John Ejari, together with the Municipal Roads Engineer and officials of the National Disaster Management Organization, visited the affected areas to assess the situation. Residents appealed to authorities to come to their aid.
Water was able to enter the store, so we even have to run away from this place. I said the level at which it reached, it could have caused some damage to ourselves. So the items in the store there, I lost a lot of them.
We said they be out obviously
When it rains, it usually stops at the door, but this was stronger. It had entered the shop before we realized and had wet most of the boxes.
Before me box
Whenever it rains, my house gets flooded. But last time's rain was worse. My house was pulled down by the rain. The drain is filled with refuse, which causes flood whenever it rains.
The Hunter West Assemblies said it will embark on a demolition exercise to get rid of structures on waterways.
We decided to break the culvert and then extend it, and then also fill that drain, and therefore that is what we did. We did it on Thursday and then Friday. Even though we saw that maybe that one wouldn't be able to finish or wouldn't be able to stop the rain from coming, but it will reduce the rate at which it flooded through the road and then enter into so many places.
The Meteorological Agency has cautioned residents to relocate as more rains are expected.
Let's bring you back to Accra because the 64th Infantry Regiment of the Ghana Army has commissioned a 100-bed accommodation for young soldiers at its headquarters at the Burma camp. The facility is to improve the working conditions of the officers. The young soldiers' quarters will house 100 soldiers of the 64th Infantry Regiment. It is also to ensure rapid mobilization of troops for deployment. The project is named after the exploits of one of its own, Regimental Sergeant Major Freedom Alomazo. According to the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Thomas Opon Pepra will send a clear signal to young soldiers to give off their best.
The Ghana Army will continue to recognize officers and soldiers who are loyal and contribute to the development of the Ghana Armed Forces. So we did one for General Pattington, who was the commanding officer when I reported, and today we are doing one for RSM Freedom. It is an indication that if you serve and serve well, irrespective of color, tribe, age, whether you are tall or short like me, you will be recognized by the Ghana Armed Forces.
Commanding Officer Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ajamai said completion of the 100-bed accommodation is timely since it will help address accommodation challenges 70% of its troops, particularly young soldiers who live outside the barracks.
This is to reduce the accommodation challenges that 64th Infantry Regiment has, because as a unit we don't have a barracks of our own. But as part of the Army Commander's vision, Higher Command is establishing a barracks for us. Currently, 70% of our troops live in town, and this is a challenge as far as mobilization of troops for duties and deployment are concerned. But with this accommodation, it's going to reduce that challenge and to help us in terms of mobilization of troops and rapid deployment.
He also pleaded with benevolent organizations to come to their aid by putting up more of such facilities. Business news is next. Following news that the MPP government will begin talks with the International Monetary Fund for support, Ghanaians on social media have inundated the IMF platform with comments bashing the government and urging the Bretton Woods institution not to lend money to the government. It appears to be the most searched page at the moment, the International Monetary Fund. Well, it is not just government that is running to it, but hundreds of Ghanaians too. But most of them are cautioning the IMF not to extend any form of support to Ghana. They argue its call for support is due to government's mismanagement of the economy. Now, Now, Dr. Patrick Esumin, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, says the IMF will require Ghana to engage in more stringent fiscal consolidation. He also believes government's flagship programs will be dictated by the IMF.
When you go to an IMF, you know that they are going to ask us to do a more stringent fiscal consolidation. This will mean that we have to raise more revenue and also reduce government expenditures. And that is where the issue about freeze on public sector employment is likely to come in, or cleaning up the payroll. Then in this particular instance, if you do all of that and nothing is happening, we might see some streamlining of some of the government's flagship programs. So I think, you know, the IMF will definitely favor more targeting of social intervention programs than the current government has been doing. Then on the revenue side, you should expect that there will be more measures. It's interesting to note that the last time we were under the IMF program, the issue about revenue, in particular exemptions, and then also property taxes, government making more from there were discussed, but nothing was done. I think that will be back on the picture. So we could see more measures to collect more taxes, and we will definitely see more measures to try and rein in government expenditures.
Right.
I think what we should point out is that those things will temporarily fix government finances. We have to understand that if the IMF, when we exit this program and we return to the sort of fiscal indiscipline that we've been experiencing, then the IMF, you know, whatever benefits we get from this will be temporary. There's also another thing that we have to understand that the IMF will not help us do, and that is, you know, the structure, the weak structure of the Ghanaian economy. That always ensures that we are importing so much and not exporting so much.
Now, the Ghana cedi edged back from a record dollar low this week, trading at 7 cedis 97 pesos from 7 cedis 98 pesos at last week's close. Ghana's debt currently stands at 78% of GDP, with more than half of that debt in external borrowing. The rise in interest rates globally is set to make Ghana's sovereign debt harder to service. This is further expected to put further pressure on the cedi, which analysts anticipate will cross the 8 Ghana cedis threshold sooner than anticipated. We have the latest in sports, entertainment, and international news after the break. And in sports tonight, a former captain of Accra Hearts of Oak, MIREKU, has called on the leadership of his former team to either prepare very well for the CAF Confederation Cup campaign or abort the competition, saying the team must build upon their last poor performance in Africa.
For me, I wish maybe I'll have my way that we can postpone as to when we are ready. Or something. It does not mean maybe I'm trying to disrespect the team, but then for me, preparation is very important, and as much as we also need quality players as well to meet that standard, because it's a different ball game altogether. You know what I'm saying? So for me, yeah, I think it's also very important to have experience. And the more you represent, the more you have the experience. And so in our time, that was what, you know, what happened. We went 97, 98, 98, 99, 99, 2000, and then we won. And so I think having that platform, they need to work extra hard. And for me, the last year was very embarrassing, you know what I'm saying. But then apart from that, they have to learn as what they did wrong that resulted in that kind of results, and then apart from that, they need to also strengthening the good side of it, and then make sure they do better than what they did last year. So I know with consistency, yes, they can get there.
That's all for sports. International news is next. Russia says it is now in full control of the eastern city of LYSYCHANSK, a claim not confirmed by Ukraine. Russian Defense Minister told President Putin that his forces now completely held the Luhansk region. Earlier, the head of Russia's Chechen Republic published video apparently showing Chechen fighters in the center of LYSYCHANSK. Further west, the Ukrainian-held city came under heavy shelling, with at least 6 people killed. That'll be all for Newsnight tonight. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Have a good night.